This week in Louisiana agriculture.
Louisiana's largest agricultural district has a new congressman, but what will Vance McAllister face when he gets to D.C.? I'm Avery Davidson with that story ahead.
I'm A.J. Sabine in Vacherie. U.S. congressional staff members help out on a sugar harvest.
Hello everyone, I'm Michael Danna. Thanks so much for joining us on this week's program. Monroe Businessman Vance McAllister is going to Washington. Political newcomer McAllister defeated Louisiana State Senator Neil Reiser in the November 16th runoff election for the 5th Congressional District here in Louisiana. Here you see the final tally. McAllister with 60% of the vote, or 54,449 votes, to Reiser's 40%, or 36,837 votes. This week in Louisiana agriculture's Avery Davidson now joins us to give us some insight into Vance McAllister. And Avery, this is a man who admitted that he's never even been to Washington as a tourist, much less a U.S. congressman. What can Mr. McAllister expect when he does get to the Beltway?
Well, first he can expect to see a bunch of nice, shiny new buildings that he's never seen before, but also he can expect to visit a house divided with some major decisions to make before the end of the year. We're going to have to see if McAllister stands by his more moderate campaign message when confronted by his fellow House Republicans who have tried more than 40 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act. The reason why I say McAllister had a more moderate stand in his campaign is because he said he would try to work to fix problems with the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as many of you call it, rather than just work to repeal it. That message must have resonated well with voters in his district. The 5th Congressional District is the poorest in terms of wealth and the largest in terms of geography, taking in all or parts of 24 Louisiana parishes. The 5th District also is home to some of the most fertile farmland here in the state. Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation Legislative Affairs Director Kyle McCann says McAllister will likely have a rough first few days in Washington, possibly with some major decisions concerning agriculture facing him.
A lot of people are very far apart, and while we have things in conference committees and we're getting into a very short time frame in terms of what's left for this legislative year, there are some very difficult votes, hopefully, that will get to come up. We don't even know if they will yet or not.
The most notable of those votes would be on the new 5-year farm bill. That's the one McCann referenced as being in conference committee. Right now, there are still major differences between the House and Senate versions, most notably a $34 billion difference in food stamp spending, a provision that could make state animal welfare laws null and void, and the price of corn, which Mike currently is hovering just north of $4 a bushel. Whenever legislators were writing this farm bill, corn was about $3 a bushel higher, so already the price of corn is at a point where it could trigger payments to farmers because of low prices.
And of course, regardless of what those triggers are, we still have no new farm bill. But when we talk about Vance McAllister, there's been almost a tradition in Louisiana where the new guy going to Washington has always been on the House Ag Committee. Certainly, I think he understands the importance of agriculture to his district. But did McCann say anything about whether or not this may bode well as far as getting an Ag Committee appointment when he gets to D.C.?
Well, that'll be ultimately up to the leadership there in the House, but not directly did he have any knowledge of agriculture, but McCann did point out that McAllister has chosen Adam Terry to be his chief of staff. Terry was also the chief of staff for former Congressman Rodney Alexander, and McCann says Terry is very knowledgeable when it comes to ag issues, so already that gives McAllister a leg up.
Certainly, his first decision as a U.S. Congressman was to hire the former Congressman's chief of staff, and that's going to go a long way to helping him navigate the Beltway. Avery Davidson, thanks.